All right, boys and girls, this is our 5th day of reading polar bears, which means we're at the end of our week. We're at the end of our polar bear exploration. So we have had different jobs all week long. What was one of our jobs we did? Grace, what was one of our jobs?
One of our jobs was to listen from when you were reading the book.
Okay, so the first day we just listened, right? You're just listening to hear the story for the first time, to hear the text for the first time. Aiden, what's another job we have? Yep, on day 2 we put our hands on our head. Bryce, why did we put our hands on our head when Mrs. Cool was reading? What were we listening for? If you heard a word you didn't know, we put our hands on our head. Then we made a list of all the words we didn't know, and we learned them. So show me what the word Arctic means. Now everybody knows what the word Arctic means. It means a place that is very cold. Okay, then yesterday we had a different job, or on Wednesday we had a different job. What was our job on Wednesday? Listening to answer questions. That was when we did our turn and talks and we answered questions. And then yesterday, after answering questions, we still had some more questions. So we talked about how do we know everything there is to know about polar bears just by reading this book? Yeah. Nope, this is just one resource, one text that one author wrote that gave us a lot of good information that made us very knowledgeable and know a lot about polar bears, but it didn't teach us everything. So we had some questions that we still have. We already answered one of those questions today, right? What question did we answer? Raise your hand if you remember what question we just answered. We did an experiment to figure it out. Kara, what did we learn?
Are we asking the question?
What question did we just find the answer to? Or just tell us what we just learned about polar bears that we were still wondering. One of our questions was, why do polar bears eat seals? So what did we just figure out with our experiment? Polar bears have to stay warm in the seawater, right? So what do they need? They need fat. So where do they get their fat?
From seals.
From the seals. From eating big fat animals, they get fat too that keeps them warm and helps them float. So we still have some questions that we had. So I found a new book for you today that we're going to read to see if they answer any more of our questions. If we still have questions that we're not sure about, Mrs. Cool found some articles. Raise your hand if you know what an article is. I gave you a hint earlier. What is an article? Where did I find these? Like in a magazine. So does this look like a magazine that you might see? Yeah, this is an article called The Polar Action Guide for Kids. So this is maybe a good resource we could look at. I also found, have you ever heard somebody say, well, let's just Google it? Yeah, we Google things. What does it mean when we Google things? What does it mean when we Google things? Evan?
You get onto your phone and you just hold down the button and then you just ask the question, and whatever question you ask, it tells you what it means.
Right. So that's using your voice to ask Google a question, but you can also use your computer and just type your question, and it will show you on the internet where you can find articles just like this one that give you information about them. Another source that I found for you is YouTube videos. Sometimes places like National Geographic, who wrote the book that we read, Polar Bears, sometimes they make videos too that are also good sources of information. Okay, so before we read, I'm going to read our questions that we have so we can keep them in our minds. How do polar bears survive when there is no ice? That's a question we still have because our book, Polar Bears, taught us that the earth is getting warmer and the ice is melting faster. So how will the polar bears survive when there is no ice? Good question. Why do polar bears eat seals? Have we answered this question? We did answer this question. Hunter, why do polar bears eat seals? They need the fat. They need the fat. And turn and talk with a partner just very quickly. Why does a polar bear need fat? Just turn and talk with a partner that we're used to. Make sure that you make good choices with your partner. All right, turn and come back to me. Oh, I heard Aiden being so polite with his friend that he was working with. It's okay. It's okay. Just turn back. So polar bears need fat to stay warm and so that they will. All right, another question we had was, why do cubs wrestle? Why do cubs wrestle? Why do cubs go on their own at 2 years old? That's pretty early. And then underneath we have, why do polar bears have black skin? And why do the babies drink their mother's milk? Okay, so we're going to try our first book and see if we can answer any of these questions that we still have. If that doesn't work, we still have questions, we can look at some of the articles. And if that still doesn't work, we can watch those videos that I've looked for you to find, okay? All right, so please put your listening ears on. This book is called Where Do Polar Bears Live? Do we already know that?
Yeah.
Yes. Are we going to know a lot of the information in this book? Yes, but what are we listening for? What are we listening for? The answers to our questions. So, if you hear an answer to a question, will you please raise your hand so that we can see if that answers our question that we still have? If you hear an answer, please raise your hand. Here we go. Where do polar bears live? This book is written by Sarah L. Townsend. And you know what's interesting, I noticed, what do you notice is different about these two books? Oh, raise your hand. Aiden, what's different?
They have one has a 1 circle.
Okay.
And one has a 2 in the white circle.
Okay, so this book has a 1 on it and this has a 2 on it. Look at the pictures. What do you notice is different? Look at the illustrations. Oh, I'm done. Maxine, how are the illustrations different?
That one on that polar bear has 1 baby and that polar bear has 2 babies.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the illustrations? Right. How are the illustrations different? I want you to think about the type of illustration.
That one is not like that one. That one, because that one has big ones, and that one has little ones, and that one is almost like a cartoon, and that one is a movie.
That's what I was hoping somebody would say. This book looks like a cartoon. This book has photographs. They're real photographs of real animals. So a photographer was the illustrator in this book. They took pictures of polar bears to put in the book. This book here does not have the photographs. It has drawings. Can a book with only drawings still give us information about polar bears? Yeah. So we're going to check that out now. So even though it looks like it has a different type of illustration, it can still give us good information. All right, here we go. Where do polar bears live? This island is covered with snow. No trees grow. Nothing has green leaves. The land is white as far as you can see. Then something small and round and black pokes up out of the snow. A black nose sniffs at the air. Then a smooth white head appears. A mother polar bear heaves herself up out of her den. A cub scrambles after her. When the cub was born 4 months ago, he was no bigger than a guinea pig. Blind and helpless, he snuggled in his mother's fur. He drank her milk and grew safe from the long Arctic winter. Did that help answer one of our questions? Ryan, what question did that help us answer? What did we hear?
That baby has fur, but
Okay. So can the baby go outside out of the den yet? Do you think the mother's going to want to leave her brand new cub? It says the mother, blind and helpless, he snuggled in his mother's fur. Do you think that mama's going to leave that baby? So why does a baby drink its mother's milk? We're going to make an inference. The book is not telling us babies drink mom's milk because, but we can make a good guess about what the author is telling us. Kara, what is the author telling you? Why would a baby need to drink its mother's milk?
So it can be strong when it grows up and when it sleeps in the winter.
Okay, so it needs to drink the mother's milk to get big and strong. And what other food do you think is in this den? Is there other food in this den? Grapes?
I keep the seals.
Let's say it again.
Seals.
Can the mom go get seals right now?
Yeah.
Maybe she can, but she's got to feed her baby. So what is she going to give her? She's going to give her what she has. And what does she have? She has milk. So why does a baby polar bear drink milk? Because the mom stays with it and to help it grow. Okay. So we're going to pause here. And we're going to put that. We already answered one of our questions. Well, this question says, why do cubs go on their own at 2 years old? If we wrote that they drink milk right here, that would. Okay. So I'm going to turn this really quickly. So why do babies drink milk? Who can tell me why babies drink milk? Right. They need to.
Because they need to get up and be strong so they can hunt and eat and be even stronger and even see.
To grow big and strong so they can hunt later. Good job. Is a baby guinea pig or a baby cub as big as a guinea pig going to go out and capture a seal and eat it up? No, that's not good. To grow big and strong so they can hunt later. Okay. All right. We already got one answer. All right, next. Outside the den on some days, it was 50 degrees below zero. From October to February, the sun never rose. That's new information. It doesn't answer a question we had, but I didn't know before that the sun doesn't come up part of the year in the Arctic. It's pretty interesting information. Now it's spring. Even though snow still covers the land, the cub is about the size of a cocker spaniel. He's ready to leave the den. For the first time, he sees bright sunlight and feels the wind ruffle his fur. The cub tumbles and slides down the icy hills. His play makes him strong and teaches him to walk and run in snow. So remember we read in our polar bears book that cubs play a lot, right? So I just heard it say his play makes him strong and teaches him to walk and run in snow. So when cubs are playing, what are they really doing? They're learning. That is so smart, Kara. You're right. I agree with you. Tell me why you think it says they're learning. What from the book told you that? His play makes him strong and teaches him to walk and run in snow. Were there any words that were clues for you that they are learning? Maybe teaches. Does that word help you know learning? Like his mother, the cub is built to survive in the Arctic. His white fur will grow to be 6 thick inches, longer than your hand. The skin beneath the cub's fur is black. It soaks up the heat from the sun. Under the skin is a layer of fat. Like a snug blanket, this blubber keeps in the heat of the bear's body. We just answered another question. Did you hear it?
Blubber.
Oh, we already answered our blubber question. Who's not here today? One of our questions was, why do they have black skin? What did you hear?
So
Right, what did you hear? Why do they have black skin? Their black skin soaks up the sun and keeps them warm. We answered another question. Do you see why it's so important to read lots of different books about something you want to learn about? All right. Their skin, it soaks up the sun and keeps them warm. Well, we answered both of the questions on this page. Yeah, we answered 2 questions. Oh, heavens, friends. Let's turn and look up here. Okay, so here are the questions we still need to answer. How do polar bears survive when there is no ice? Why do cubs wrestle? And why do cubs go on their own at 2 years old? I think we can probably answer these questions. I have high hopes. Okay. Polar bears get too hot more easily than they get too cold. They stretch out on the ice to cool off. Isn't that interesting? So polar bears really don't ever get cold in the Arctic, but that makes sense now that we know that they have thick, warm fur and they have thick, fat blubber. So sometimes they need to cool off. So what will they do? They will stretch out on the ice. What could they also do? We learned something in this book. They can also go for a swim. They can go for a swim. All right. This cub has never seen its father. He never will. Polar bear fathers don't take care of their cubs for 2 years or a little longer. That's the mother's job. After a few days near the den, the mother leads her cub onto the frozen sea. Fur between the pads of their paws keep them from slipping on the ice. If the cub gets too tired, the mom gives them a ride. So we all just heard that cubs stay with their mom till they're 2 years old. Why do you think they go on their own after 2 years old? Have we answered that question yet? No. What is the mom doing for the first 2 years of the life of the polar bear? What is she doing, Sophia? She's being the baby cub's what? She's kind of doing my job. What's my job for you? She's teaching her baby. So after 2 years, do you think maybe her job is done? Do you think that she's doing her job of teaching them, and after 2 years, maybe they've learned everything they need to know? Do polar bears need to learn math? No, polar bears don't do math. Do polar bears need to learn to read? No. Do they need to learn to just do school things? No, they really just need to learn how to hunt and stay safe and warm. Do you think the mom can do that in 2 years? Probably. And they use play to help them learn. So what should we put to answer our question, Allison? What should we put to answer our question? Why do cubs go on their own at 2 years old? What do you think? Hunter, why do you think the cubs go on their own at 2 years old? So they've probably gotten fat and they've grown a little bit. And they have learned how to be a polar bear. They're done. They've learned everything they need to know. So I'm going to write on here, the mom has taught them everything they need to know. Do you understand what I mean when I say that? Yeah. She's taught them how to hunt. She's taught them how to survive. So the mom is done teaching them. No, it's time for the daddy. Oh, but we heard about the dads. What did we just learn about polar bear dads? They don't take care. The daddies don't take care of them. They don't know their dads. All right, the mom is done teaching them. So we only have 2 questions left. Okay, let's piece it up. All right, so our first question was about the ice melting, but then I think I have a guess. I'm pretty sure we can answer this question, why do cubs wrestle? So we just learned that play is actually wrestling. Playing helps polar bear cubs learn. So how would wrestling help a baby polar bear learn something? What do you think that would help them learn? Bryce, what do you think that would help them learn? Why would a polar bear cub want to play wrestle to learn something? What is a polar bear wanting to do when they're wrestling? It makes them strong. That's a great idea. Wrestling makes you strong. What else, Evan?
They wrestle, so whenever they're a big polar bear, they can,
It's Evan's turn.
if they see the animal they're afraid of, they can fight it.
And Kayla, did you hear what Evan said? Why does a polar bear come maybe with you to learn how to wrestle? What is it wanting to do? So they can fight a tough animal. What is the animal, or what is a polar bear's favorite food? A seal. They're pretty big animals, right? So they're going to have to learn to play through wrestling to learn how to hunt and how to be strong and how to capture their prey. So I'm going to why do cubs wrestle? They are learning how to They're learning how to catch their prey. Okay, they're learning how to catch their prey. Okay, friends, I know we've been sitting for a little bit, so what I want you to do is stand up. Stand up, please. I want you to stretch as high as you can, make yourself tall like a polar bear. Awesome. Now get down and pretend you're a cub. Okay. Polar bear crawl back to your carpet spot. Stand back up. Waddle like a penguin. Waddle, 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 waddle. And have you ever seen at the zoo when the penguins come up through the hole to get back on land? What do? They jump. Show me how high you can jump. Fantastic. All right, Mrs. Poole is going to count back from 3. When I get to 0, I need you back at your carpet spot. 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you so much. All right, we got some of our wiggles out. Now I think we can probably finish the book. We're only listening for the answer to one last question. All we're listening for is how do polar bears survive when there is no ice? Here we go. Polar bears live in the Arctic around the North Pole. Some of the Arctic is land, and there are cold, rocky islands and stretches of tundra where no trees grow. But a lot of the Arctic is made up of ice. I'm wondering if this is going to lead to answering our question, because now the book is starting to talk about ice. Under the ice, there is cold, dark water. Seals live here. So do the fish and shrimp and crabs that they eat. Fish and shrimp and crabs spend their whole lives underwater, but the seals have to come up to the surface to breathe. They use their claws on their flippers to scrape away the ice, make a hole so they can reach the air. So what are you thinking is going to happen next? I'm thinking of a vocabulary word. Snatch. The mother bear did not eat for months while she was in her den. Remember, she didn't leave to go hunting. She fed her baby only with her milk. She has lost 100 pounds or more. Now she needs to hunt. She smells a seal's breathing hole through 3 feet of snow and settles down to wait. She doesn't twitch a foot or even take a step. If the seal hears the smallest sound of movement, it will dart away to another hole. At last, the bear smells the seal. She hooks it with her sharp claws and she crushes its skull with her jaws. She drags it up onto the ice. The mother strips away the skin and the blubber of the seal. Then a little Arctic fox darts in to snatch a mouthful of the meat. On land, a polar bear might catch a tiny lemming. It might even nibble grass or seaweed. But to survive, polar bears need to catch seals. To catch seals, they must hunt on the ice. Every summer, some of the ice around the Arctic melts. Every winter, it freezes again. But in the last 100 years, the Earth has gotten warmer and warmer and warmer. A little more ice melts each summer. Each winter, the water is slower to freeze back into ice. I'm noticing that there is a drop. Listen carefully. When the ice melts earlier and the water freezes later, the bears have less time to hunt. They don't eat as many seals. When scientists studied polar bears in Canada, they found that the bears are weighing less than they once did. The thinner bears can't have as many cubs, and more of their cubs die before they can grow up to have babies of their own. If the Earth keeps getting warmer, the summer ice in the Arctic could melt completely by the time you are all grown up. So what could be a problem? What could be a problem? They can't hunt, so they can't eat. And if you can't eat, can you live? No. When this polar bear cub is full grown, he will be the biggest hunter on land. If he stood on his hind legs, his head would brush the ceiling of your living room. He will weigh as much as 3 tigers. Each of his footprints in the snow will be bigger than a dinner plate. This polar bear is a fierce, smart hunter, but he cannot survive with no place to hunt. Without ice, polar bears will become extinct. That means they will be gone forever. If the ice doesn't stop shrinking, he may be the last polar bear. Okay, so that's the end of the book. Did we answer our question? How do polar bears survive when there is no ice? We did answer it. How did we answer it? Can they survive?
There's only one polar bear left.
That's not true. It says if the ice keeps getting thinner and the ice keeps melting, then there will be no more polar bears. So how do polar bears survive when there is no ice? Can they survive?
No.
They can't survive. They will die. So that answered our question. They cannot survive. They will die. They will be extinct, gone forever, like the dinosaurs. Guys, how does that make you feel? Sad. It makes me want to cry. So what can we do? I wish. That would be cool. Okay, so listen, please come back and listen. Okay, so the book is over. The book is done. But I'm thinking that this book was written. Why do you think somebody wrote this book? What did we learn? What was the message of this book? What did we learn after reading it? What is happening to polar bears? They're becoming extinct. So somebody wrote this book to tell you they are becoming extinct. And so they probably want you to do something. So or save them. There is a page right here that says, what can you do? So I'm going to read that too, and maybe it will give you an idea. What can you do? We put carbon dioxide in the atmosphere when we burn gasoline, oil, natural gas, coal, and wood. We use these fuels for a lot of things. For driving our cars, for keeping our homes warm in the winter, and for making electricity so we can turn on our lights. When you turn on a light bulb, when you run your air conditioner, or even when you work on a computer, you're using fuel that adds carbon dioxide into the air. We can't stop doing all of these things, but here are some things we can do. Don't ask for a ride to school if you can walk or ride your bike. Taking the bus with lots of other people also uses less energy than driving a car. Don't throw away soda cans, juice bottles, or paper in the garbage. Recycle that. Recycling uses less energy than making new things. That means less carbon dioxide in the air. Remember that paper has 2 sides. This is something that we can do in our classroom. Remember that paper has 2 sides. Don't waste it. Use both. Draw or paint or write your stories on the blank sides of old homework paper. Ask your mom and dad to buy compact fluorescent light bulbs, the kind that we have here, instead of regular light bulbs. They use less electricity. If your parents complain that the fluorescent ones are more expensive, tell them that they will last much longer. In the winter, ask your parents to turn down the thermostat a little bit. That means your house will be a little bit cooler. But if you're cold, you can just put on a sweater or go do some jumping jacks because exercise will warm you up. In the summer, don't turn on your air conditioner. Instead, just sit by a fan, or better yet, open your windows. So what can you do as a kid to help save the polar bears?
Recycle trash.
Recycle your trash. That's something that you can do in your family. What else did you hear?
What if you don't have a recycling?
You could get a recycling bin. Do you have to have a special bin for recycling? Nope, you don't. You can just put it in paper bags. You can put it in a tote like we have in our classroom. And even if the recycling truck doesn't come to your house, you can take those bags or totes to No Frills has them, Super Saver has them, and you can take them and put them in bins, and the recycling company will come and get them. What else did you hear that we can do? Grace, what did you hear that we can do?
You can, when you're told you can do jumping jacks.
When you're cold at home, you can do jumping jacks instead of turning up your heater or wear more clothes. What else could you do? There are lots of things. This makes me think of an article that I read that I wanted to share with you guys. So this article, excuse me, it says, okay, let's look at this one first. Okay. The Earth's North Pole and the area around it isn't land at all. Instead, it's just a huge mass of ice floating on top of the Arctic Ocean. It's very important to our planet. What happens at the North Pole affects all of the Earth's people and animals, but the planet is gradually getting warmer. And scientists are worried that this is helping to melt the polar ice cap. So that's a problem for everybody, because if the polar bears are gone, it will affect us too. So we read about why this is happening. What can you do? You can change your light bulbs to the fluorescent lights that we talked about. Unplug, so don't use your chargers all the time on your computer or your phone. Moms and dads can do that. You can also pick a different car. That's kind of a big thing that we can't do, but you could have mom and dad talk about maybe buying a hybrid car. Okay, so there's something I read today while I was trying to find information for you that I thought was really cool. Did you know that there is International Polar Bear Day coming up? Polar Bear Day is on February 22nd, so it's coming up next month. So, do you think all the kids in this school are going to read this book? No. Probably not. But do you think we could tell them about the things that we have learned? Wouldn't Polar Bear Day be a great time to do that? What are some things that we could do to help other kids in our school know that the polar bears are in danger on Polar Bear Day? What could we do? What are some ideas you have? Oh, raise your hand. Oh, but do you think Mr. Milburn would let us go around the school and talk to all the classrooms? Probably not. So what else could we do? Well, we probably don't want to interrupt their learning because that's so important. So what could we do? Think of some things you see in our school that help give information. What are some things in our school that help give information? Nothing.
On the Polar Bear Day, the classes could come in here and we can give them, and the people can things that don't have this classes, and people that don't, we should underclaim it and we can listen to the story.
Okay, we could invite people to listen to our book. What would we do though if they can't come to our classroom? How could we teach them without actually talking with them? What could we do? Could we use our writing somehow? What could we do?
Yeah.
What could we make with our writing? Karen, what is your idea?
Posters.
We could make posters. What would our posters maybe say?
Be friends.
Well, we don't want to invite them to our classroom because they have things to do during their learning day. But sometimes when people are getting a drink or when they are walking into school or waiting in the front lobby to be let in for breakfast, they might be able to stand and read something. So what would we want to tell them? What would we want to tell them about Polar Bear Day? What is Polar Bear Day for, do you think? For helping the polar bears. So did you hear some things that you can do to help the polar bears? Yeah, what are some things that we could put on a poster to tell people that they can do to save the polar bears? So Sway, what's something we can do? Something the book told us.
We can give it to them.
We want to make a poster that tells people some things they can do to help save the polar bears on Polar Bear Day. What are some things, and can you just sit down because we can't see. What are some things that we would write on the poster? Aiden, think about this book that we read right here. What is it? We can tell people how important it is to recycle. What else could we tell them? What about when it's winter time? What can we do in our houses? Wear a sweater and do exercise. I did find one last piece of information that I thought was pretty cool. We might need to look it up later so I can find it. That has to do with Polar Bear Day that we can talk about in a little bit. But do you think we can agree? Could we agree that we think it would be a great idea to make a project to teach other people about how polar bears are in danger and how we can help do our parts to save them? Do you think we could do that? We can make some posters just like when we made our gingerbread posters? I think so too. I think that's a great idea. Because do you know what? Books have a message, and usually the author is trying to give the reader a message. So do you think the authors of these books were trying to give us a message? Yeah, what was the message they were giving us?
That you need to help polar bears that are getting endangered.
Polar bears are getting endangered is what Braylon said. So does this make us want to do something? Yeah, this book makes us want to help save polar bears. So now we can come up with a project like making posters for Polar Bear Day that can tell other people who haven't read this book what they can do to help save polar bears. I think that is a great idea. And I think that is exactly what Laura Marsh and Sarah Thompson and probably all the polar bears in the Arctic would like us to do. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do we have a plan?
Yeah.
All right. That's the end of Polar Bear Week. We will keep working on posters now.
There's still some polar bear books over there.